If you've watched any of my content on this channel lately, it's clear that I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 9. However, when it came out, I was unable, or I guess not quick enough, to have secured the Generation Pack for the Nintendo Switch 2. And after playing through Resident Evil 9 a couple times now, as well as trying the Leon Must Die mode a bunch of times here, I decided that I wanted to revisit Resident Evil Village as well as Resident Evil 7 on my Nintendo Switch 2. And if you look online or you look at the Nintendo eShop, the cost to purchase it is actually about the same price as getting the physical Generation Pack, which comes with Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9 all in one bundle. So it got me looking around, and I was thinking to myself, maybe I can buy a copy by luck, or maybe it's back in stock, who knows? And I was fortunate enough that Amazon did stock the Generation Pack again, and I just received it recently. And in this video, I'm going to do a quick unboxing, kind of go over what this contains for those of you who haven't already looked into this, and go over my first impressions of playing some of the other Resident Evil titles on the Switch 2. So let's take a look. So to start, when you unbox this package, you get like a nice, cool looking box set that fits neatly in with your other Switch 2 games or Switch games. But basically, there's nothing ultra special in this package. And what I mean by that is, yes, you get the cool sleeve. You also get the nice box that holds everything together, but there's no like manuals or posters or anything included extra in this package. But you get the 3 physical copies of Resident Evil Requiem as well as 7 and 8. Now, opening up 8, for example, there's nothing really in here. If you look close, you can see like there's a bit of a different cover art in there on the backside if you flip it over. But otherwise, this is pretty much par for the course for this whole package. And I bought I want to call it the Amazon edition Resident Evil Requiem, which really I was curious if there might be anything different between the box art. There isn't anything different. The only difference between the Amazon edition, I'm putting that in air quotations because it's not like you get anything majorly different, is that it does come with a little fold-out poster for the game that this box set does not include. So I guess if you're somebody who wants to save like 10 or 20 bucks and get that copy instead of the Generation Pack just for the poster, that's something to consider. But ultimately, as it stands, this is a pretty, I don't want to say the word generic because I like the package, but it is pretty generic. It's just a box set with 3 games. But I will argue that there is a lot of value here. Like I said, if you look on the Nintendo eShop and you try to buy these 2 games, Resident Evil 7 and Village bundled together, it's like 110 bucks for the full package. Whereas if you buy this package, even though I already own Resident Evil 9, it's about just a bit more. I think it's like $9 more, so I don't have it in front of me, to get 2 physical copies of this and Resident Evil 9. So if you're somebody who doesn't own any of those games or only owns Resident Evil 9, for example, and you have a itch to scratch with the previous games, I think this is worth purchasing in that front. Now, I have to also highlight, I do have a Series X, and I have played all of these games with the exception of 9 on my Series X. And so I'm in a position where, for me, this is something more of, I like the luxury of being able to use my Switch 2 around my house and on the go. And this time of year in my career, I'm on the road a lot. I'm going to a lot of different places, and when I am home, I do want to kind of hang out in the living room as opposed to being nestled down here. And so I like having the Switch 2 around my house as well and being able to use it in tabletop mode and set it up that way. So that was a lot of my motivation for purchasing this game, because I like being able to play some of these great games on the go and playing them just other places than just sitting at my gaming dungeon, as you can see. Now, the game that I really had the biggest fixing to replay again, because I recently beat, well, when I say recent, I beat 7 a couple months ago, but I really want to get through Village again. I hadn't actually replayed it since pretty much it came out. I beat it a couple times then, and plus the DLC, but I hadn't really replayed it since then, but I've replayed 7 quite a few times since, so I want to revisit Village. And so I've played it so far both in docked mode as well as tabletop mode, and I will highlight, if you have a Series X in your priority, or your PS5 and your priority is playing this sitting down or in your living room, and you don't have the reason or the desire to play this on the go like I do, I would tell you that this would be a more compromised experience. You get not as good of a resolution as you get with the Series X. Things don't look as crisp. The hair looks pretty bad on this. And you also face things like some frame rate slowdown. So there's definitely a bit of a compromised experience here. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's bad. Much like Resident Evil Requiem, it's a good experience and in some ways even an impressive experience, but is it as good as playing on some of the other larger consoles or even a gaming PC? Absolutely not. But when you're playing in tabletop mode, which is primarily how I'm playing this game, you tend to notice a lot of these deficiencies way less. And I just want to highlight that. It looks like a much better experience, just like it did with 9, playing in tabletop mode. You still kind of notice some of the wonky hair and stuff like that. But as it stands, it's still a solid and heavily playable experience portable-wise. As I understand, I haven't actually jumped into it yet, but apparently 7 is like a incredibly well done port, which is likely because the RE engine didn't have as much upgrades, I assume, at that time, so they're able to optimize it a lot better for this type of hardware. But as it stands, I purchased this purely because I just wanted to have 2 physical copies of Village and 7, and I'm gonna likely either trade or sell Resident Evil Requiem, the extra copy that I have, and probably keep the poster. But as it stands, these are to me are like, I think Resident Evil since 7 has been on a fantastic run. I really enjoyed Village, I really enjoyed 9, and 7 to me is probably one of the best mainline Resident Evil entries. And I've been playing a lot on my Switch too, purely just due to circumstance, which is part of why I bought the console. So having it in this package at this price point versus buying it digitally, for me, made a lot of sense. I know some people, if you have a Series X or a PS5, you can probably buy these games a lot cheaper, but then again, you lack the ability to play this conveniently and as easily on the go around your household. So this is just kind of a kind of general video on this product, and if you're interested in this as well, or you've seen that it's restocked, because I believe it is now for the indefinite future, it's, in my opinion, definitely worth something jumping into and taking a look at.